takes real courage and real fortitude to stand up to those large corporations that really have so much lobbying power in Tallahassee. Not to, you know, not to hamper their business to a great degree, but again, it's our river, it belongs to all of us, rich and poor, you know, Republican and Democrat, and everything else. And, you know, I think you've got the right idea with that. How about offshore drilling?
I want to circle back just a moment to what you said about corporations, and then we'll talk about drilling. One of the pledges we made in this campaign was we weren't going to accept any money from political action committees, PACs. I think that that helps us because I'm not obligated to some of these developers, industries, corporations, because we haven't accepted their money. I think there's an implication that, you know, you're sort of bought and paid for in that scenario, whether it's true or not. But it's tougher to go against those types of industries when you're trying to control pollution in the river, for example, when they've heavily supported your campaign. All right, but getting back to offshore drilling, of course, you know, we have this fresh knowledge of this recent accident in the Gulf of Mexico, which was tragic and fortunately doesn't appear to be worse than it was feared maybe 1 month ago. This is a very difficult thing because nobody wants drilling in their own backyard. The way things are set up in the state of Florida is our state waters extend out 3 miles on the east coast. On the west coast, they actually extend out 10 miles, which is, you know, a little bit of a quirk in the way the system is set up around the United States, but we control 10 miles on the west coast and 3 miles on the east coast. In that everything that we drill in those areas is basically Florida's. So we reap the benefits from any revenue that comes from that. Nobody wants the drilling in their backyard, but I would say we shouldn't keep that off the table. We should continue to reevaluate that, look at safety and what's available, what safeguards might be available, because, you know, as we get farther and farther into this recession, we may have to look at sources of revenue. And, you know, hopefully the recession will lift, but right now unemployment is high and the recession does not appear to be lifting, at least in our state. This could be a huge source of revenue. So we're going to have to think about this. We don't want our taxes raised. You know, there are other possibilities for raising revenue, but this could be one that would be good. Drilling off Florida is not going to solve our dependence on foreign oil. It's not, and that's the main problem.
Yeah, our consumption is outpacing the possibility of dealing with our consumption of foreign oil. So very good. Good information on your candidacy, and we've talked about all kinds of things. Do you have more questions,
I do.
Kristi?
I guess with the tone of the race shaping up in Florida, all over the state of Florida, some of the most watched races, I guess, have taken on a very negative tone. I have received very negative postcards from your opponent. Obviously, can't believe everything you read. But how do you feel about the negative ads, and what is your answer? Sure, you know what he's attacking you for, so what would be your response, and how do you feel about his approach?
Well, that's interesting because, you know, my opponent in the special election last year, John Thrasher, in the special election, he was attacked by these 527 organizations. These 527 organizations are independent organizations that are able to raise money and spend money for or against a candidate. And in last year's special election, over $2 million was spent by one of these 527s attacking my opponent. And we heard about that all through the last campaign. We've heard about it all through this campaign, about how he was viciously attacked by these 527 groups. And now, a group aligned with my opponent, maybe he doesn't have direct knowledge, if you believe that, that's what he says. I don't know that I believe that, but a 527 group aligned with my opponent has been relentlessly attacking me, with one mailer after the other, saying that, you know, his party registration at one time was in the Democratic Party, and therefore, you know, he must be with Pelosi and Obama and these folks. And in fact, you know, my entire career I've supported Republicans, including my opponent last year in the special election with contributions. So it's frustrating. One of the main reasons I'm running is because I'm so much opposed to what's going on in our federal government with the spending and with the health care and some of these other things that the Democratic Party has created. So it's frustrating, but if I'm elected, Kristi, I'm going to try to revise some of these rules for these 527 groups. These are just, it's unfair, and voters can't figure out where this stuff is coming from. This group is funded by Blue Cross. It's called the Responsible Leadership Committee, funded 100% by Blue Cross. And again, it gets back to, you know, how all of these groups are intertwined with the other candidate, and that's part of the problem.
Sure.
I want to mention to our viewers, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with State Senate candidate Dr. Charles Perniciaro, running for Florida Senate District 8, which includes parts of 5 counties. And I want to talk about your opportunities for voting in this primary before it's over on Tuesday. This show airs Thursday nights generally, and Comcast is good about showing it maybe a few other times during the week and during the month. And we hope that you'll enjoy what you've heard and learned about Dr. Charles Perniciaro as a candidate. And if you've got an absentee ballot sitting around at home, make sure you fill that in and vote. Send that in. I understand that it's good. Postmarked the day of the election, but I wouldn't wait till then. Get it in the mail at least by Monday, if not Friday. Your early voting opportunities are at 9 libraries and the Supervisor of Elections main office downtown. If you see a library with a lot of signs around it, chances are that is an early voting location. And the hours are 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. weekdays. Those libraries are also open Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. So as a Republican, you have your choices in the Republican primary, and as a Democrat, I've got my own. I did vote, by the way. So everybody gets a little different ballot depending on where you live. But the libraries will take, they allow you to vote no matter where you live in the county. So I live at the beach. I could have voted at the Regency Square Library, for example, or any of the others around town. So if you're passing a library with a bunch of signs around it, take a minute and vote. Everybody should vote in every election. I'm a super voter, and I want everybody to be a super voter. So we want to thank Kristi Dunn, my co-host. I'm Dave Smith. And Dr. Charles Perniciaro, do you have any closing comments for the audience?
No, just that I would echo what you said, Dave. It's important to vote. If you don't like the way things are going, then maybe you can vote for the new face, the fresh face, and that would be me, Charles Perniciaro.
And we need those kind of people in office. I'm Dave Smith, thanking you for watching and listening on behalf of the concerned taxpayers of Duval County.